This video is sponsored by Brilliant.org.
Hey Brick Fanatics! Today we're taking a look at the brand new LEGO UCS Star Wars set 75355 X-Wing Starfighter. Not Luke's X-Wing Starfighter, more of that in a moment. But first, we've all heard the saying, never judge a book by its cover. Well, the same can be said about this LEGO set. Except it's not a book and it hasn't got a cover, but what I do mean is we should never judge a LEGO set by its box alone. Now, many of us, myself included, when we first saw the reveal pictures for this X-Wing, were a little bit underwhelmed. We thought it looked a bit basic, we thought the front nose looked a bit blocky, and we thought the shapes were all out of proportion. Well, having built it, I will hold my hands up and say I was completely wrong. This set, once built and in the flesh, actually looks pretty impressive. Now, it's not 100% accurate, there are still a few things that are wrong with it that could be improved, but as LEGO sets go, this is pretty dang close to what I imagined a LEGO X-Wing Starfighter to look like when I was a kid. When I first saw the reveal pictures and I saw these exposed studs all along the nose cone here, all along the front fuselage, I thought to myself, it does look a bit basic. It looks like we've gone backwards. More modern designs will have those covered over with tiles, giving a model a more sleek finish. But actually, once the model's built and you look closely at these exposed studs, what they actually do is add this really lovely texture to the model. And there's pockets here of really interesting detail, and it almost gives the model a more rich feel because of it. The way that the tiles here integrate with the exposed studs here just looks really, really smart. And even this coloration, this dark grey, keeps going right the way down the back. Just gives a really good look. It does look, I can assure you, so much better in the flesh than it does on the box art. The build for this is an utter joy from start to finish. It begins by building the inner framework for the front fuselage and the cockpit, and it even begins by building some of the inner cockpit details, including the seat, which I have to say has some of the most comfortable looking armrests in the entire galaxy. I guess if you are going to try and defeat the Empire, you might as well do it in style. It also includes a little movable gear stick, or flight control stick I guess in this case, and a little retractable targeting system, so we can all stay on target. The one thing I would say about the cockpit, when listening to the designer interview, and he mentioned that this was the first time that LEGO X-Wing of this scale was going to have a decorated cockpit, I assumed he meant that it was going to be printed parts. But these parts here are actually stickers. However, I would say, if the cockpit area was slightly oversold, then the mechanisms for the S-foils was definitely underplayed. It is what I would describe as simplistic genius. And by that, I mean the actual mechanism to operate these S-foils. It's just mind-blowing how simple, but how effective it actually is. All it is a simple turn of this little Technic cog at the top, opens the X-foils like that, a simple turn below, closes them like that, and there isn't a single Technic mechanism involved in that at all. There's no cogs, there's no gears, there's no axles, there's nothing. It's such a simple mechanism. It's such a simple mechanism, but it works so... It's such a simple mechanism, but one that works so well that if you're anything like me, you'll find yourself doing this over and over and over again. It's just a joy. The mechanism itself, it's Technic bars that are put at a slight angle like that. They've then got curved tiles around them, and they simply just pivot like that. There's two elastic bands holding each side there and there, so it keeps the tension, and then just turning that just opens them up. It is, as I said, simple but absolutely ingenious. And actually that idea of simplistic genius sort of carries on throughout the whole build. If you look at the back here, which is actually my favourite element of the set itself. Let me take it off the stand for a sec. The back part of here, which to me, I just think looks so accurate and authentic. They've really, really nailed that. Also, the greebling here is just genius. I'll come back to that because there's some really clever part usage in here. But if you just take a look at that shaping, that hexagonal shaping, now that's not the easiest thing to create in Lego. But all this is a series of sub-assembly plates that just clip on through hinges all the way around the back fuselage and create this amazing looking shape. Couple that with these back engines, and I think you've got the best looking rear end for an X-Wing that Lego have ever produced. The front fuselage, as I mentioned, with those exposed studs, I think looks really, really, really effective in real life. And the way this detailing goes down both sides with the mix of tiles and exposed studs, and actually the more you look at it, the more details you start to see. I love this little detail here with the sloped tiles. I love the way here that the grey of the exposed studs goes into the tiles and then carries on all the way down that rear fuselage. And at every stage, it's just so enjoyable to put together. I can't remember the last time I had this much fun putting together a Lego UCS set, and that says a lot. All along this model are just those pockets of just wonderful, wonderful techniques and part usage. Now, on the topic of parts usage, we've got these amazing, you've probably seen them from the reveal pics, but at the end of each laser cannon, just to create the detail, which actually looks really authentic to the real life model, you've got white minifigure flippers, and even on the back, for the first time in dark grey, to create the shaping there, there's a little game controller element. Really inspired, really clever, just really, really, really fun. There is slight repetition, as you can probably imagine. There's 4 almost identical wings and engines to build, but even those, they seem to come together in a really enjoyable way, and I didn't mind. I knew I had 4 of them to build. I put them all together and it was really fun. I would say, if anything negative about the build, it feels like it's over too quickly. I put this together probably maybe 4 hours, and that includes the time it took me to write down my notes for the reviews. That's pretty short for a UCS set, especially one that costs over £200. Whether you buy Lego sets for the final model or for the build experience will have some kind of bearing on whether you think that's good value for money or not. But I would say the final model does look absolutely superb. So as entertaining as the build is for this model and how impressive the final model looks itself, it of course isn't without faults. There are some areas that are just a little bit gappy and don't look as polished as they could be. And if you open the wings, you'll see here and here, you can see the exposed areas of the Technic pins where the wings have connected to the main body. I just don't think that was necessary. I think they could have been covered up. It does, when you notice it, it doesn't catch the eye straight away. But once you've noticed it, it's one of those things that's really hard to unnotice, and your eye keeps getting drawn back to that exposed area. And I just think with the rest of it looking so good, I think that could have been covered up. R2-D2 minifigure sits just behind the cockpit there, looking woefully out of proportion. He looks tiny. Now I know there's a current trend at the moment with The Mandalorian to have uberly cute little Star Wars characters. Of course I'm talking about Grogu, and it almost feels like this is baby R2 in the back of this X-Wing rather than normal R2. I think maybe a larger printed dome would have been better there to sit at the top, and then just had R2 as a minifigure that comes with it. On the subject of minifigures, it does come with the aforementioned R2 who sits in there, and of course no X-Wing would be complete without Luke Skywalker in his X-Wing pilot fatigues. Now, at the start of this, I said this isn't called Luke's X-Wing. However, it comes with the Luke Skywalker minifigure. So it's either Luke's X-Wing Starfighter, but just hasn't been called that, or Luke has just borrowed one for the weekend to go, I don't know, to Dagobah or Tatooine or wherever Luke goes when he's got time off. That aside, pedantics aside, the Luke minifigure is the definitive X-Wing pilot minifigure that LEGO have ever produced. There's beautiful arm printing on both arms. He's got dual moulded legs with extra printing on the legs, and the torso is the most detailed torso they've ever produced yet. It's probably not the most desirable of minifigures. There's been a lot of Luke Skywalker in his Rebel outfits previously released, but I would say, you know, if you were after the definitive minifigure, Luke in his Rebel X-Wing pilot gear, then this is definitely it. I always think that UCS sets should come with the most exclusive and desirable minifigures, and this set is no exception to that. So, of course, with any LEGO set, we talk about the build, we talk about the model, and then, of course, we have to talk about the price. Now, this retails for £209, $239 and €239. That is in keeping with other similar Star Wars sets that are of this size and this scale, like Luke's Land Speeder, for example. Of course, they were cheaper before inflation took over and LEGO had to hike up all of their prices. So it is in keeping with that. I would say, is it worth over £200? Yes and no. The build, as entertaining it is over so quickly. It's such a short build for such an expensive outlay. But the final model does look amazing, and it is LEGO's largest ever X-Wing, coming in at 1,949 pieces. And you sort of think 1,949 pieces for £200 is a pretty good value. And like I said, it does look very impressive. It will look awesome on a shelf next to any other LEGO sets, or just displayed on its own. It is a lovely, lovely model. It's just up to you to decide whether you value the build experience or the final model over one another, and which one of those is more important when considering the price of a LEGO set. But all that being considered, it certainly isn't overpriced when comparing it to other LEGO sets on the market. And if you're a fan of Star Wars and you're a fan of X-Wings and you're a fan of the original trilogy, then this is a very, very good purchase. Overall, I'm really, really happy with this set. When I first saw the reveal pictures, like I said, I really wasn't sure about it. I thought it was blocky, basic, a bit simple looking, out of proportion. But having now built it, man, I was so wrong and so pleased about that fact too. It's a brilliant, brilliant build, if not a little short. The final model looks excellent. Luke minifigure is just brilliant. And overall, this is just a set that I would say the Force is definitely strong with. So we've gone through the build, we've gone through the overall look, we've gone through any negatives and positives, but there's still one burning question that I know you are all dying to find out the answer to. Is LEGO Star Wars 75355 X-Wing Starfighter bigger than a dog? Let's find out. Rocky, you're up, mister. Come here. Good boy. Good boy. The answer is... There you go, little treat. The answer is no, it's not bigger than a dog. Good boy. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give us a like and subscribe below. It really helps this channel out. And if you're after a more in-depth review of LEGO Star Wars 75355 X-Wing Starfighter, then head over to brickfanatics.com now. You'll also find a whole heap of reviews, news, features, and much, much more. If you sign up for the newsletter as well, you will never, ever miss anything LEGO related, ever again. And that's a promise. But for now, I'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.
This video is sponsored by Brilliant.org. Luke Skywalker might be able to get away with switching off his targeting computer, but the rest of us need all the help we can get from math, science and technology in our everyday lives. If you're someone with a lifelong love of learning, or if you work in a STEM field or hope to work in a STEM field one day, then you'll want to check out Brilliant, a learning platform with thousands of lessons on subjects such as AI, probability and geometry. Take for example Brilliant's course on programming with Python, which can help you to add a new skill to your CV or resume, or just help you to better understand programming for personal hobby projects. Brilliant's courses are intuitive and built around interactivity. You'll work your way through bite-sized and very digestible lessons that teach you principles starting with the basics and progressing all the way to more advanced subject matter. matter. Often abstract concepts are communicated through illustrations, animations, and interactive puzzles and challenges, so you'll learn by doing in a low pressure and fun way. To try out Brilliant for free for 30 days, head to brilliant.org/Brick Fanatics or click on the link in the description. The first 200 Brick Fanatics viewers to sign up via this link will receive 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription plan. Have a great day, keep learning, and may the Force be with you.